intimate pictures of Gandhi once more in the limelight as the result of his hunger strike give you an idea of how frail the little Hindu leader was when he began his fast. Aimed at the British, Gandhi's strike was also a protest caused by the caste system under which 60 million untouchables are outlawed by their fellow Hindus. Gandhi wants to include the untouchables in a united native India. But even if he does, there are the 77 million Mohammedans who oppose Hindu control.
In this great issue which we are fighting today, there can be no doubt about the ultimate answer. The real voice of the people is behind the government at present established by law.
Here he is at last, the mystery man of India. Our first glimpse as the Rajputana came alongside at Marseille. And there's a woman of whom you've probably all read, but never seen in a picture. Miss Madeline Slade, the English daughter of an admiral, who now prefers to be known as Malara Ben. She's one of Mr. Gandhi's most devout disciples. She's leading the way ashore now, and just behind her comes Mr. Gandhi, dressed as he said he would be, in just his loincloth, even in the chilly climes of Europe. And he's carrying with him his pots and pans, which he declared at the customs. He was trotted around Marseille to several receptions and made one or two speeches which rather frightened the French authorities. But when asked to speak into the sound-filled microphone, he said, "I think not." And so we go on our way to England. Well, here we are at Folkestone, with the Biarritz coming alongside, and as Gandhi said, in proper English weather, pouring rain and bitterly cold. Miss Slade was the first ashore to tend to the luggage, that is, the goat's milk, etc. She was followed by Gandhi's son, and then came the little man, still scantily clad, but with an extremely wet blanket around his tiny frame. I'm sure he must have been frozen. We were in thick overcoats. He picked his way through the puddles along the quay side, and he was wearing sandals, by the way, to the waiting motor car, for he decided that he'd rather go up to London by road. He insisted on sitting up in the front seat with the driver. He said that he could see better that way. So he tucked himself in, and so off to London, whilst his followers went by the boat train. In town, quite a lot of people had waited in the pouring rain outside the Friends Meeting House on the Euston Road to see what he really looked like. But at first they were quite disappointed, because he went in the back way. But shortly afterwards he left by the front way. And then they really did see quite a lot of him, even his knees. No, he won't speak into the microphone. And so to his popular home, where we leave this bizarre little man, whose coming has caused so much comment, complete with loincloth, spinning wheel and goat's milk, feeling sure that he cannot complain of his reception or the publicity he has received, from which, by the way, we always understood that he shrank.
Mahatma Gandhi is dead. When vast throngs crowded Delhi's Birla House, urging him to break his last fast, few imagined an assassin would strike near this spot 11 days later. To the simple, trusting multitudes of India, this frail figure was a god. In his 40 years campaign for freedom, his creed was peace. When independence came, it brought bloodshed. Yet Gandhi's non-violence held in check the threat of civil war. His simple eloquence and ascetic life earned him the respect of all. Sir Stafford Cripps called him the world's greatest spiritual leader. Only history will name him mystic or astute politician. In every age, great men are born. Gandhi was one of these. Ashes are all that remain of the man who symbolized India's finest aspirations. As the last religious rites are performed, a nation gives itself up to grief. For many, the vigil of prayer commenced 48 hours before, when the body of Mahatma Gandhi was placed on the roof of Birla House in full view of the thousands who had traveled all night to pay him their last tribute. Laid on a hastily converted army truck, the body was drawn into the vast crowd lining the roads to the cremation ground. Planes strewed a saffron shower of petals over the route, while at the funeral pyre, the relatives and friends built mounds of flowers and perfumed spices high on the sandalwood logs. Nearby with his family sat the Governor-General with officials of the government. The flower-decked cortege moved slowly through the dense throng. Tens of thousands wept openly as the body passed by them. Premier Nehru, traveling on the funeral coach with Gandhi's youngest son, appeared bewildered in his depth of grief. Closing behind, pressing forward, came 1 million mourners. Around the pyre, the throng became packed as the body reached its resting place. Of all the faces in that vast multitude, the most serene was that of the Mahatma. To those around him, Gandhi had seemingly been transformed from a beloved saint into a divinity. Ramdas Gandhi, youngest son of the Mahatma, placed the torch to the pile of sandalwood, and as the first plume of scented smoke lifted above the pyre, the great concourse of mourners swept across the barriers towards it. Against this tremendous human tide, the police were almost powerless. Mourners were forced close to the fiercely burning ghat. But, as in Gandhi's lifetime, peace won where force had failed. The mass hysteria was broken by the chanting of a hymn, "Mahatma Gandhi has become immortal." In the rising flames, the spirit of a great man passed to his gods.